This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. There he is joining us on a beautiful Bitcoin morning. How you doing, my man? You celebrating like we are that Bitcoin's over 30,000?
I have not been looking at it, so I have not. I didn't know.
I know you did.
I didn't know. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't know.
How was the luau yesterday?
It was pretty cool. Man. I didn't get to go last year, so this is my first time being out there, and pretty cool environment. I love learning about different cultures, and so I've learned a decent amount about the Samoan and Polynesian culture. Covering the league for the last 4 or 5 years. I covered Marcus Mariota in Tennessee, and he's Samoan. He actually went to the same high school as Tua, and now it's Tua. And so being around a lot of the culture, see the dances they're doing, learning why they do the dances, that was an element that was pretty awesome for me. And then obviously you have fun moments in the night. You see, Mike McDaniel bidding on a Tua and Marino painting. I don't know where he's going to hang that up in his house, but he spent some good coin for a Tua and Marino painting that actually looked pretty awesome.
He's got a lot of walls in that house, bro.
That is true. He's got a lot more walls than I do. So, I got to figure out where I hang stuff. McDaniel probably puts it in the 7th room or whatever. So that was pretty cool. They did a fire knife ceremony towards the end outside, which I thought was pretty awesome. And yeah, you just see, I think last year, we made a big point of it because you seen all this support for Tua, which was different than what he had previously. You see the coaches come out, you see a heavy amount of teammates. And this year it was the same. It's not as much of a surprise, not as much of a bigger deal because it's happened before. But you see, Mike McDaniel and Frank Smith and Darrell Bevel and Chandler Henley, his whole offensive, core there. And then you see teammates like Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert and Alec Ingold and River Craycraft, Austin Jackson, among others are there. You just kind of see the support that he has. So good cause. They donated about $55,000 to Jason Jenkins Foundation, which I thought was awesome. Mike McDaniel and Raheem Mostert and Jason Taylor all bid $5,000 to donate there. And Tua, I think, donated about $25,000 himself. So definitely a great cause, and it was a cool way to spend a Monday night.
That's awesome, man. It's and listen, I don't know why we make it such a big deal. How about maybe he's just like a really likable dude too, on top of all of that, It's like, we talk about guys like Aaron Rodgers who are probably loners and don't necessarily, I don't know, go to the same tune as everybody around them, right? And so I can understand when we talk about the guy that isn't social, but it's kind of weird that, we would even question somebody's loyalty to somebody else when, how about this? Look at our love for Jason Jenkins. Yeah. Anybody that met him loves the man because he was such a good person. And so you'll see lots of people will easily say something really nice, like I would about Jason Jenkins, who I got to know for the last 15 years while he was here in Miami. And, it's just sometimes there are people you gravitate to because they're just good human beings. And to me, that's just who Tua is, dude. And and the part that I thought people had a misconception of is that they thought, like we had fun with Omar last year when he said, "Oh, he's a weirdo." No, he's not a weirdo, dude. It's just, he's a straight and narrow guy. So he's not going with you to the club to go make it rain. But that doesn't mean that in his own way, he's not going to connect with you and joke around with you behind the scenes, and that he's not going to show you personality behind the scenes and all of those kind of things. And maybe his joking will be in one way, then completely different than a couple of the guys at the bar, at the sports bar, at the barber shop, or whatever, that maybe the language is a little bit more colorful and it's a little bit more edgy and it's a little bit more political or whatever it is. Yeah, you're not going to have those conversations with Tua. You're not going to have those conversations with Tony Gwynn, with Cal Ripken, with Derek Jeter. I can go on and talk about those kind of guys that they're not going to go to the strip club with you, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be liked. They can't be great leaders. They don't have an impact in the locker room.
Yeah, man. Every guy's got different personality, especially from that position, the quarterback position. And so I think the biggest thing for Tua and for his teammates was to learn what his personality was and for him to truly embrace it, because, they're like, he's a different personality than Ryan Fitzpatrick. Doesn't mean that he's less of a guy. He's just different, And so, like, if you have one style, you have to adjust to another. And I think his teammates have a lot better of understanding of who he is. I think Tua has a lot more comfort now in being who he is. And I think that allows everybody to try to embrace him for who he is, right? Because, like, I have a different personality than you do, or Omar does, or whoever is, so it doesn't mean like people may like you more or less based on your personality, but the goal is to be you. And ultimately, you'll get accepted or not accepted based off that. And so I think that last year, and I was telling my wife this yesterday about like Tua's, where I thought he has grown in. I thought that he's grown in like being truly himself and open to a level with us as the media, but also publicly that he wasn't before. Like, I think he was this way privately. Yeah. I think he was this way privately with some of his close family and friends, but he's a guarded individual. And so for him to open up and be a little bit more of himself with us, with the public, even with his teammates to an extent, I think it's growth. Mike McDaniel is a big part of that. And also probably his own confidence in where he is with his game and himself, going into year 3 and now year 4.
Did you see a thicker Tua yesterday?
I didn't. I don't know if I was like evaluating his thickness. Maybe I should have. He was wearing a pretty nice 3-piece suit. I have seen some of the workout videos where I've seen some of his. I don't know how much I want to dive into this, but some of his quads or thighs are obviously bigger.
He was already big down there. He was already lower thick. But you know what, Sean? If you can pull up the 2 pictures from yesterday. Well, you can put up the 3rd one for the end, and we can really show the progress. But first, see if you can pull up the one with Tua and the teammate, and then the one with him coming off the snap from this weekend that Nick put out, so you can check it out. And you could kind of tell in the picture. Well, that was the initial Tua. No, but look, this is the one here that just came, and then look at him with his teammate.
Right.
So
is that
you
Adam
look
Shaheen? That looks like Adam Shaheen, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then you look at him there, and then you look there,
right?
And that's, you could tell. Look at the neck,
right?
Like you see that there's been some work out there. The legs, people were making a big thing about his legs. They didn't really notice. He's always had.
His lower body's always been big, but I think he has got bigger, even bigger and stronger. His lower body too. Yeah. But up top, he looks stronger. I mean, he's been in the weight room.
Yeah,
that's good. You can
tell. Now, the original, when he first got here, show it, Sean. When he first got that's progress right there.
Yeah, I mean, going from a stick to where he is now, that's a lot of growth.
That's a lot of growth right there. Fresh off the hip injury, atrophy set in. That kid had nothing on his body. He's completely built it up. So he does look like listen. Are you shocked that he's a pro's pro, that he's going to go do what he needs to do in the offseason like any other great athlete? Oh, I got to add this to my game. Oh, I got to improve this. So I'm not really shocked that he's going to do whatever it takes to be better.
Absolutely. No. I think that this year is going to be it's going to be a blast for Dolphins fans. Because you're year 2 in a new head coach. Like, if you were excited about Mike McDaniel year 1, now you got year 2 in a scheme. You got Tua year 2 under Mike McDaniel, who he seems to be very comfortable with. And this offense, having another year with that scheme, and then a defense with Vic Fangio, that, there's a lot of optimism could be better. So, as quiet as it's kept, I think the Dolphins are going to be, again, one of the biggest storylines of this season. And obviously, the big question everybody will have is, can Tua stay healthy? He won't be able to answer that question until September. But I think if that answer is yes, then it could be a really good season for the Dolphins.
You think we're gonna see an opener of Kansas City and Miami? Because if the NFL,
yeah,
you think that's going to be the opener then?
So I don't know. Like I know I work for NFL Network, but they don't preview me the schedule a month in advance, and so I don't know. I don't know
because of the whole. I know I hate to put it this way because I'm the guy that defends them as much as possible, but for all those people that are so concerned about the injury stuff, well, what better way to open up Thursday night?
Absolutely.
Two is there, and then that offense against that offense, put on a show for the league on a Thursday night. Miami's got to visit Kansas City. I think, man, Fangio going up there to Kansas City to try to stop Mahomes and company and all that.
I love it. So to me, I'm looking at the Chiefs schedule right now because the Chiefs obviously get that Thursday night game because they're Super Bowl champions, and it's got to be a home game. And typically, they're not going to put a Super Bowl rematch. So they play the Eagles in Arrowhead, but they won't do a Super Bowl rematch most likely that first week. And so the most likely options when I'm looking at the schedule is Miami, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. You got 3 AFC teams there. And so to me, if I was guessing right now, I would say one of those 3. I mean, technically, I guess you could put Denver in there if you wanted to do Peyton Russell, but I'm not excited about that the way I would be the other 3. You got Tyreek Hill. You got Tyreek Hill coming back home to Arrowhead. He's going to talk a lot. He's already talked a bunch about what he's going to do to them. You got Mahomes and Tua. You got Tua coming back. Can he stay healthy? So, yeah, I think that either of those 3, the Bills, the Bengals, and Dolphins would be great. But you look about, you can't lose with those. But as far as if the Dolphins, let's be real, they have a bigger fan base than the Bills and the Bengals. Even though the Bills and Bengals have been more successful recently, the Dolphins have a bigger fan base. And so you can also save Burrow, Mahomes, or Allen Mahomes for later in the season if you want to. So, yeah, I like the idea of Chiefs Dolphins that Thursday night opener.
Now you got Bills Mafia going to get after your ass now too when they see this.
Yeah, about them being a big Dolphins historically. I'm just calling it what it is. The Dolphins historically have been a bigger fan base. Not saying they're more rowdy or more enthused. The Bills probably have them there, but as far as size, historically the Dolphins have been a bigger fan base than the Bills and the Bengals. I got to call it.
It's not even close, but they'll get butt hurt anyways.
Yeah,
about the whole thing. What'd you think about Club Live hosting OBJ and Lamar after OBJ signs?
Yeah, this whole OBJ Odell Beckham situation has been interesting because he got $15 million guaranteed, and this is a guy who did not play ball at all last year. No other receiver in the free agency market got the contract that he got on a guarantee in the AAV level, and so it surprised me. Like, Odell's been a really good player, but it's a lot of money to get to somebody who you don't for sure know if he's going to be the same player after that injury. You're hoping, and to me, this is just speculation. To me, that's a move you make to appease your quarterback and to make sure everything's good and we're going towards making up. We talked about this the last couple times we were on here. How does this Lamar thing end? Well, is this the Ravens reaching out an olive branch to a guy that he's clearly close to? He clearly has talked about wanting more receivers. And so you say, hey, the offers aren't looking what you're liking, Lamar. We'll go get one of your guys, one of your best friends, a receiver, help our room out as well. And let's all come back together and make this thing right. And to me, that's what it seems like my takeaway from the Odell move is. Yes, you get a starting caliber receiver, but maybe also you secure your quarterback back maybe earlier than you may have initially.
Crazy stuff. So how your Sixers going to do in the playoffs?
Oh man, so I am cautiously optimistic. I will say that I told my buddy this. My buddy is a big Heat fan. He has season tickets for the Heat. I'm hoping, and I'm not afraid to say this. I am hoping the Heat win tonight. And then they can find a way to pull that upset against Boston, because I know it's unlikely, but I would love to see another Philly-Miami rematch, and I also would like to avoid Boston.
You'd be facing Boston. I would
love to have Boston.
Flow's good.
Yeah,
but damn, we're gonna ask him to do that miracle now too. I mean,
hey, nobody. What did Jimmy say? Nobody counted us to win last year, you know. So I'm not expecting it, but I said I would love it. The problem I have with Philly is can they get over the hump against those good teams? They're going to have to play, you know, if things go the way they're supposed to go, they're going to have to play Boston and then Milwaukee. I love to say I'm confident they can beat both of them. Boston's had their number. I actually would feel a lot better against Milwaukee than I would against Boston, just the way the flow is going. But you never know. Joel Embiid's been the best player in basketball this year. He should be the MVP. You just need James Harden to show up. He's been a really good facilitator at times this year, and he's averaging 20-something points a game, but we know the history on him in the playoffs. And so, you know, it's gotta be his time. If he's gonna ever change the narrative about him choking in the playoffs, this is the year. So I need to see elite James Harden. I need to see elite Tyrese Maxey, because we know that Joel Embiid is going to be who he is, the best player in basketball.
You sound like the Tua haters. They keep moving the line after he keeps proving them wrong. All right, well, let's see if he can do this. So let's see if he can do this. By now, we kind of know who James Harden is, my brother.
I was like, you were right. We've seen what James Harden has been. But what else can you do? You know, you got to change your narrative somehow. And so this is his opportunity. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a wild playoffs because the West is wide open. You got the Nuggets as number 1 seed, but you know, I don't believe, like, everybody talks about Jokic. They've never won, and they've never really been in a position where they've been a 1 seed year and year and year, and they never win.
Healthy, actually.
That's true. They're more healthy now. But to me, it feels like one of those teams, the lower seeds, whether it's the Suns or the Warriors, the teams that have I'm just gonna call it how it is, the true game-changing superstars. I think those are the teams that I feel like they're gonna find a way at the end. And so, you know, in the East, I always look at it in the playoffs. In the end, the best players rise to the top. And so for me, the best players in the East, you got Joel, you got Giannis, and you got Tatum. One of those three are going to come out of the East. To me, in the West, you have Jokic maybe in that conversation, but to me, I don't look at him in the playoff realm the same way I may look at a Kevin Durant or a Steph Curry, you know? Right. And so to me, I think it's going to be what it is.
It's funny how you're hoping that James Harden does what he normally doesn't do in the playoffs and steps up and becomes that star next to Embiid. And right before you came on, that's my problem with the Heat, that Jimmy just doesn't have that star next to him. There's no star.
Hey, you know, Damian Lillard and Bradley Beal, every offseason they miss the playoffs and they complain about their situations. One of these years, they got to just request their way out. And to me, that would be one of those guys. They're older, so you'd be betting on an older player, but Jimmy's older. So you got to, you know, make what moves you can. To me, I don't know what they can do money-wise. You know, obviously they committed to Kyle Lowry for a bit. But can you, if you can find a way to make a big splash for a Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal, to me, that's your last push to try to.
They've been dying to make those moves. The problem is now they put themselves in a position where they don't even have the ammunition to make that, because many other teams will step in front of them with better deals to make that move. And that's ultimately the problem there now too. They've mishandled, you know, that part of their franchise, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
All right, absolutely. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch his work there at the NFL Network. Cam, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up later in the week.
Sounds good.
Thank you. You got it. There you go. Cameron Wolfe, baby. And of course, KSDT CPA. You saw the QR code there. We got your taxes right around the corner, man. So wherever you're at right now, you need your taxes done. Hit that QR code. Reach out to the people at KSDT CPA. Your business, maybe you need an extension, personal taxes coming up. KSDT CPA. Hit that QR code and reach out to the great people. Offices in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties are going to be opening up one in North Carolina. Give them a ring, man. You can do all of this by phone wherever you're at. Support the great people and the great companies that support our platform, KSDTCPA.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.